Stephanie White and Caitlin Clark finally get the season they didn't have. After only 13 games together last season, Stephanie White and Caitlin Clark finally have a full runway to define their partnership. Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White never had a chance to find their stride in 2025. White's first season and her second stint as Indiana Fever head coach saw Clark hampered by injuries early in the year and ultimately playing in only 13 games across the campaign. Such a small sample size is simply not enough for a coach and star player to develop the proper rapport. Still, that hasn't stopped some fans from venting frustrations about the pairing. And it did appear as if there was an adjustment period between the two early on. White brings a defensive identity to any squad and certainly challenged Clark and others on that end of the floor. She also had made it a point to work to develop Clark's game off the ball. White has previously made it clear that teams shouldn't be overly reliant on its point guard, which is why she tried looks with two primary ball handlers on the floor during Clark's short stints of action. Clark made it clear she was willing to work within coach's parameters, but also made sure to emphasize she is at the best with the ball in her hands in transition, including this comment from a practice in July. "That's what I'm best at, so we're still going to do a lot of that. It's, I think, finding a balance." That balance never got a chance to be struck because Clark went down for what ultimately became the season about a week later. White's coaching acumen was on display with how she was able to still lead an injury-decimated Fever team within a game of the WNBA Finals, with Clark cheering the team and her coach on enthusiastically along the way. White and Clark's relationship is built on respect. White and Clark clearly have a bond built on respect. In fact, during Clark's return to the court with Team USA in the FIBA World Cup qualifying tournaments, where she won MVP, White, who was a member of the staff, was right beside her as she was presented the trophy. And in a recent interview with a Starstruck podcast, White discussed how, like other great players, Clark challenges her coaches due to her work ethic and competitive fire. That before fawning over her ability, pointing specifically to Clark's explosive scoring performance in a game against the New York Liberty last season. You can't take for granted how hard the stuff that she makes look really easy is. And you can't take for granted all of the things that she can do on the floor because it's just Caitlin being Caitlin. It's extraordinary. That Liberty game was just Clark's fifth under White as coach, and she was averaging 21.6 points and 9.2 assists coming out of it, so the early returns on the partnership were quite strong. However, Clark never got fully healthy, and we weren't able to see what they could do with a full season together. Now with the 2026 campaign approaching, the coach and Superstorm will get a chance to really challenge one another. White plans to take a conservative approach to ramping Clark all the way up for tip-off in order to avoid a repeat of last season, and the Fever have constructed a guard-heavy roster that should ease the burden on Clark to put things on her shoulders. But how the proven coach and the generational star find that balance Clark previously mentioned will still be key to the Fever achieving their championship aspirations. Seeing them get the chance to fully realize the potential of their partnership that they didn't get last season is surely one of the biggest reasons Fever fans can't wait for things to get started. Now they finally get the chance to find out what it really looks like.